5.
I call to order the special meeting of the City Council of Lakewood, Colorado of September 30th, 2013 at 7 p.m. here in City Council chambers. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Murphy?
Here.
Wickman? Here. Kellen? Here. Quinn?
Here.
King? Wilson? Here. Barroway?
Here.
Johnson?
Here.
Paul? Here. Coop?
Here.
Roybal?
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. And as always, I'd like to thank everyone for choosing to take part in their local government by coming out tonight. The main item on the agenda tonight is, of course, the second public hearing of our budget for the revised budget for 2013 and the proposed budget for 2014. So we'll get to that in a little bit. But first, I would ask everyone to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for a moment of silent prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Just thinking, lots to pray about with our friends and neighbors throughout Colorado. Some of the difficulties they're dealing with the aftermath of the flood. So, again, our best wishes are with them, and our thanks to everyone, including the first responders, who've been just so incredible through this whole situation. Before we get to public comment, we have a special little presentation tonight that's not on the agenda. And I would ask Sonia Estes from Runner's Roost to come on down.
First time. Hi, my name's Sonia Estes. I'm with Runner's Roost. I'm the president and the operator of Runner's Roost Lakewood. The reason I'm here tonight is last Saturday, our family of stores actually collected money for all the counties in Colorado, and we sent a check to the United Way. This weekend, Lakewood held an event at Bear Creek Lake Park, and since we had our recent water damage, we actually were not going to have sponsorship money sent to the racers this year. We decided to give it to you guys instead to start rebuilding Bear Creek Lake Park. As Runners Roost Lakewood, we benefit from that park, from the trails, and from all the hiking trails that you guys do such a wonderful job. And we are residents of Lakewood, and we've been happy here for the last 11 years. Adam's in my ward. So we just wanted to say thank you, and I wanted to present that check tonight to Mayor Murphy. We actually have more money coming in. This is just the start, and then we will kind of rally our runners and our hikers on Wednesday for the start of the cleanup. We also wanted to say a quick thanks to the park rangers, Drew and Jody and Ron and Eric, who have been working around the clock. If you haven't been down there, it's pretty amazing how much water we did sustain, and that's what it was built for, so it worked. Congratulations. And I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Sonia. Sonia, you and Runner's Roost have always been great. Obviously, you run a great business, but great community citizens and great partners as well. And we appreciate this. I believe you said the amount here is $500.
$500 tonight.
So that's tremendous, and we know that you're still kind of rallying some of your customers, and we appreciate it very much. And as you say, that Corps of Engineers dam worked the way it was supposed to, but the result was something like 40 feet of water. Yeah, some of us have looked down on that from Morrison Road. It's quite a sight to see just the tops of the trees. So thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, and Sonia, thank you to your family as well. I see that they're in the back.
I wanted the whole family, including the teddy bear, to come down
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, we have a family of runners. We had to leave the store a little bit early tonight, but it was definitely worth it. And then the event that we held this weekend, the numbers are still coming in. We're at $1,000 extra right now.
Wow.
So it'll just keep coming in. So
Thanks again.
thank you, guys. All right.
going to say our finance director is somewhere in the room. Should we hand that check to him? There he is.
Very publicly handed that check over. All right. On to, thank you again. What a wonderful gesture. All right, on to public comment. This is the point in the meeting where the public is invited to address City Council on items that do not appear on the agenda. And again, really the only agenda item is the budget tonight. All comments should be directed to City Council. As always, I ask that all in attendance observe the decorum of City Council chambers, refrain from audible applause or support or discord with the speaker. There is a 3-minute time limit, and as you come down and start speaking, the light will be green. It will turn yellow when 2.5 minutes are reached, and red when 3 minutes is reached, at which time I would ask you to wrap up your comments. We do have a number of folks tonight that have indicated a desire to speak, and I will start with Laura Carpenter.
Does it say Laura or Lance?
I'm sorry, it says Lance Carpenter, my mistake.
That's the first time I've ever been called Laura, though.
Yeah, I apologize.
Thanks for letting me talk.
Sure.
Quick question. I talked with Dave last week. We had a vehicle come through our fence. This is now the second time this has happened, and we live on Kentucky and Nelson by Shire, the park there. There's a horse pasture there. Several years ago, we had a vehicle come through our fence. This is now the second time. This time, it was at 4 o'clock in the afternoon about, and if our kids were in the backyard, they would have been killed. So the first time this happened, I came to you guys and asked for some help. Really nothing happened. This is now the second time, so I'm coming back to see if we can't do something to put a barrier up or something so if a vehicle does come in, it doesn't come in our backyard again. So anyway.
And your address is 887 South Nelson, right?
Yeah.
Street. Okay. All right. We appreciate it. We will take a look at that.
I would appreciate that. So.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. And I apologize for that. Your troubles there. Charles Olison.
I think I'm supposed to give my name and address.
Yes.
I'm Charles Olson, 5852 West Pacific Circle. I'm here to present a petition and some maps and some comments regarding what we think is a severe parking problem in our neighborhood with people overflowing from another zoning area. I was here a year ago, and Jay Hutchison did a study of us and Lakewood High School and basically turned us down. But I know there's been some changes at Lakewood High School, and we'd like to see those same parking restrictions brought into our neighborhood. I have quite a few of my neighbors here. I have a petition signed by about 60 people, and so I'll leave this for you. I guess that's the procedure.
Give it to the clerk. That would be great.
Okay, I live in a single-family area zoned R16. I'm next to a condominium complex zoned multifamily, and they are using our neighborhood for their parking. There are approximately 400 units in the Sun Point neighborhood. When it was built originally in 1987, people did not have as many cars, and half of the units only have one parking space per car. So if you have a husband and wife with 2 cars, there's no place to park, except when the zoning was done. There were 120 visitor parking spaces that I assume were used for anybody that had 2 cars in a 1-car spot. The homeowners association there has banned the use of those 120 visitor parking spaces. The city has talked to them about opening those 120 spaces up. They will not do it. I think the only way that we can get those 120 spaces available is to restrict parking in our single-family neighborhood and force them to open up parking spaces. Well, I can give you a little history, but I won't. They're parking, they're blocking our driveways, they're causing our mail not to be delivered, they're parking in front of fire hydrants. Even though I'm in a single-family neighborhood, I don't have a place for friends to park. The parking problem is mainly at night. I have cars pulling up all day, all times of the day and night. And, whoa, the orange light already. Anyway, I would hope the city would do the same thing to our neighborhood as what happened at Lakewood High School, which has worked very well. I've worked with Brian over there, and they've got a sign that says no parking, residents and guests accepted, and we'd like to have those signs in our neighborhood.
Thank you, Mr. Olson. Are you speaking on behalf of a number of folks in the neighborhood, or other folks want to come down?
No, other people have their own views.
All right. Fair enough. Thank you. Louis Just, please.
Good evening. I'm Louis Just. I live at the intersection of Pacific Circle, Ingalls, and Jewel. And I'm about 1,000 feet away from the epicenter of this problem, right down Pacific Circle. I'd like to start by commending the mayor and the city council for the good jobs that you've done. I've been here for 31 years, and I'm very, very pleased with Lakewood Estates, except for a couple things. One is the Jewel Speedway. It is a speedway and also a noise park. And also the fact that Sunpoint was allowed to put in a lot more units than were originally scheduled when I bought my house 31 years ago. I'd like to support everything that Charlie said. It really is a mess, and it seems to be growing. It seems to be going down Pacific Circle. I'm particularly worried about the effect on property values, and I have a story to illuminate that. My wife and I have been talking about doing some improvements to the house, and we, not real serious, but we've talked about it and figured out how much it would cost. And about 2 months ago, a realtor put something on our door. There's a house in the neighborhood, bigger than ours, and all the work that we're talking about is done. So we thought, gee, that sounds good. Then I found out where it was, and it's right behind Charlie. And so it would have the same problem that Charlie has. And I thought, I wouldn't want that property, even if it got priced $100,000 cheaper. So I think that you've got a situation here where you're trashing a neighborhood. The property values are going down because of this, and we are worried about it crawling along Pacific Circle. It's already taken over Iliff. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Jest. Lisbeth Brewer.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Breuer, 6135 West Pacific Circle, Lakewood Estates. I have been a resident of Lakewood Estates since 1981, and prior to Sunpoint and some of the streets, even within our subdivision, being developed. And although I am not directly affected by the parking issue on Iliff, Gray, Harlan, or West Pacific Circle, I, like many others in our subdivision, are certainly indirectly impacted. I may not have an issue with trying to park in front of my house or somewhere near my home, as the residents do on these streets, but when I drive down Iliff and the cars and the trucks are parked end to end, it does cause trouble with the ability to see anywhere around these vehicles. If these cars that are generated from the parking restrictions in Sunpoint were required to park within Sunpoint, it would alleviate and resolve these issues. It should not be a problem that Lakewood Estates has to deal with at all. There are numerous vehicles that have been on the street and not moved for days and weeks, in fact, years. While speaking with residents of our subdivision, it was obvious of the strong objection that they have to the parking of SunPoint vehicles on our streets within our subdivision. It would seem like an easy solution to ask them to park in their own area. And although this is not part of the issue that we're speaking of at the moment, it should also be noted that many, many cars do not stop as they're going north on Iliff at the stop sign on Iliff and West Pacific Circle. There should be some type of additional warning that this is a stop sign. This morning was another example where within 6 minutes, 3 cars sailed right through that Y intersection. Thanks for looking into this situation, not only the parking issue, but looking to abort an accident that could very well happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Lois Just? Okay. Simon Cardenas?
Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. I'm Simon Cardenas. I live on 5913 West Pacific Circle. I live 4 homes down from Iliff and the corner of Pacific Circle. So I am also one of the homeowners that are impacted by the situation. We're at the point now, as Charlie indicated, that the problem has not leveled off. It's continuing to grow because now we're getting the homeowner that lives in those apartments or condos. They have 1 or 2 parking units on site, but they also have 1 or 2 children. So you have 2 children. Then they also have the vehicle that they drive to work. We have a vehicle that does airport, so that vehicle's out there too. I'm impacted because I have a family. I have sons and grandchildren in the metro area, so we like them to come to visit, but they can't park in front of my home. Saturday we had a birthday party for my daughter, and they're limited to where they can park because you have all the other people taking up all the parking area near us. So I know you've already looked at the issue once, but I believe that the situation has not lessened. It has grown worse. So we really wish that your zoning people or your staff would look at the situation again and not just give us a yes or no, but give us some options that we can look at to make. I'm like Charlie and some others. I've lived there for over 20 years. I had a contractor come and visit me today because I want to remodel my kitchen. But I'm talking about adding $50,000 to my kitchen. Is my home, the value of my home, going to be able to support that $50,000 that I want to put into my home and enjoy living in Lakewood? So again, we're asking for your help and give us some options, but rather than yes or no, help us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cardenas. George Andrew? Ingrid Andrew? And I'm just real quickly making sure we've got everybody that lives in that neighborhood. I think I'm going to go a little out of order. Anybody else in the neighborhood wish to comment on this issue? Okay. All right, thank you. I saw our police chief taking notes about the stop sign, so that's a good start. We'll look into the situation. All right. Next on the list is David Miller. Mr. Miller, good to see you again today.
My name is David Miller, Miller, 2176 South Zenon Street in Lakewood, Colorado. And it's a privilege to visit with you quickly this evening on the topic of 2090 South Wright Street. Several years back, we did an all-American thing. We bought our own house. And we bought our house. The single biggest factor for us was that Hutchison Park that bordered our homes, a park that the city of Lakewood had owned since 1977. How did we know it was owned by the city? Well, not only maps found until recently on the City of Lakewood website, but also the City of Lakewood open space signs the city had posted on all parts of the property, including the section of property the school district now claims is theirs. About 2 years ago, the school district began looking for a home for a charter school. That charter school has since found a wonderful home and location near D'Evelyn High School, one of the prestigious high schools in all of Colorado. Before that, though, the city had decided in October of 2011 that although it had been asking the school district to clear up the title mistake for 2090 South Wright Street since 1983, it would allow the school district to have the piece of property and to allow it to be rezoned to R2 to allow for multiple uses besides a school. The state of Colorado's Assistant Attorney General and 2 title companies refused to give the school district clear title to develop or sell this land because, in their opinions, the city had a valid interest in this property. The city and the school district proceeded to attempt to have the land rezoned, and when the public outcry over this was so loud, they backed down to, quote, save the taxpayers' money, unquote. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Paul Campbell, please.
The Mayor and Councilman, I'm not a frequent visitor of your council, but I have been here before. Despite the claim that the city, I'm Paul Campbell at 12521 West Asbury Place, directly adjacent to the 2090 Wright Street property. Despite the claim that the city and district wanted to save taxpayer dollars, our best estimate is that 2 governments have spent almost $500,000, yes, $500,000 of taxpayers' dollars for the city to disclaim its interest in this property. The city has played a critical role in this gross misuse of taxpayer dollars. Mayor and councilors, you are responsible for your staff and the decisions they make. Mary Murphy and councilors, we wonder, are you not in control of your staff, or has someone instructed them to omit altered documents in hopes that the issue of the 2090 ownership would quietly go away after running the citizens out of money? Fortunately, these omissions and alterations have been brought to light thanks to our diligent research effort via the Colorado Open Records Act and cannot be ignored any longer. Whatever the reason for this lack of transparency, your efforts to overrun your own citizens and constituents have had a real and costly effect on every Lakewood citizen. Your battle to give this land to the school district has cost Lakewood citizens enough money to practically clean up Bear Creek Lake after the flooding 2 weeks ago. Whatever the reason for the omissions or alterations, it is unpardonable that this level of deception would occur by our government. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Campbell. Barb Franks.
Hi, Barb Franks, 2120 South Youngfield Street, Lakewood. So what omissions exactly are we talking about? Let's talk about the 7 deceptions that we've uncovered so far. And we have the documents to back these up on our website, www.2090coalition.com. After hearing from us, we believe that every member of the City Council and every Lakewood citizen listening to us tonight has an obligation to go to that website, read the documents, and start asking Mayor Murphy and the councilors and the city staff some serious questions. First, let's start with January 1977 deed and a letter from the developer giving the property to Lakewood. This document was in the City of Lakewood's files in no fewer than 2 separate locations, to be exact, and it was not disclosed to the state's Assistant Attorney General or your own legal expert for review. Had it been disclosed, and the succeeding document between January and December 1977 had been made available for review, both experts could have told you and the district that the city owns the property due to the race notice Colorado state laws governing deed discrepancies. It does not matter that the school district had a recorded deed. You have the controlling deed, and the district knew it back in 1977, which means that your deed controls the piece of the property. Our question is, by whose authority were these documents kept not only from the public, but from the state's Attorney General's office and the city's attorney? Second, city employee Ross Williams made no fewer than 10 separate requests or notices to the school district between 1983 to 2011 requesting that they cooperate with him to get the land back in the hands of the city because, quote, it is a desirable element of the park system, unquote. Again, by whose authority were these requests and the intent to use the property as parkland kept not only from the public, but from the state attorney general's office and the city's expert opinion attorney? And third, the 1992 through 95 conversations between numerous city officials, including Dick Plastino, where South Wright Street was being considered as the site for the building of Rooney Ranch Elementary. Mr. Plastino stated residents would go ballistic if 2090 was developed. Again, by whose authority were these conversations kept not only from the public, but from the state attorney general and the city's expert opinion attorneys?
Thanks, Ms. Franks. Charlene, I'm sorry, I can't read the last name. Starts with a B. Yeah, I know the feeling.
Charlene Bush, 1960 South Wright Street. Fourth omission. In an effort to secure an additional 5 acres for the school district, the city agreed to pay half the purchase price and spent $125,000 of taxpayer money, in part to attempt to get the school district to finally turn over the 2090 property. However, the city never followed through on securing the Wright Street site afterwards. By whose authority were these efforts kept not only from the public, but from the state's attorney general and the city's expert opinion attorneys? And is it common practice to spend large sums of taxpayer money without protecting the city's interests via an enforceable contract? The fifth omission. Conversations between Ross Williams, Evelyn Baker, and other city staff in October of 2011 when it appears that over a weekend, Ross Williams suddenly changed his tune and said that it was now okay to rezone 2090 South Wright Street for development and for the school district to be the owner of said property. Who talked to Mr. Williams and got him to change his tune so dramatically, basically a 180-degree turn from his long-held position that the land belonged to Lakewood? It's highly suspicious that this man who diligently did his job advancing the city's interests in this property for 28 years suddenly changed his mind. Sixth omission. The mayor and our own Ward 4 representative, Mr. Paul, participated in ex parte quasi-judicial communications with the district school board president, breaking established protocol. The email communiques were not included as part of the rezoning packet for the council, nor did Mayor Murphy or Adam Paul disclose these communications to the audience the night of the rezoning vote. By whose authority were ex parte quasi-judicial communications withheld from the council packet preparation by Ms. Baker? Why did Mr. Murphy or Mr. Paul not disclose these communications to the public before the hearing began on June 25, 2012, and have the required discussion with council about whether they should recuse themselves from a vote? The seventh set of omissions. A school district employee on April 3, 2012, stated in an email, "There is belief at many city levels that this rezoning request will be approved." How did this school district employee know a full 45 days before the Planning Commission vote and 75 days before the council vote that this rezoning would be approved? Thank you.
Thank you. Heather Winger.
Good evening. Heather Wenger, 11872 West Asbury Place, Lakewood. Now that we've covered the city's omissions, which are quite egregious in and of themselves, we now turn to the topic of an altered document. A mere 9 days after the city discovered that we found the original deed, hold on, right here, The original deed for the transference of all 37 acres of Hutchinson Park, which includes the school district's part, they sent an employee to the city clerk's office to insert language into a copy of the deed stating, "This deed not accepted by the city, not a valid conveyance." The same employee states that this language was on the second page of the deed. We have the second page, and there's no language at all of any nature on this page. We ask, by whose authority did this employee get direction to tamper with an official city record of 1977? This employee has stated in official deposition that he made up the language that he put in there. Additionally, we recently discovered that the school district planned to withdraw its rezoning request before it filed the quiet title action on 8/7/12. However, the district supposedly did not tell the city until September 10th of 2012, the night of the council vote. Was anyone at the city aware of this intention? This cost the city immense amounts of money and time to validate the nearly 9,000 signatures within 30 days. If someone in the city knew, that was a waste of taxpayer money. If someone did not know, then you seriously need to think about why your attorneys are attempting to keep the school district, or to help the school district keep 2090 South Wright Street. This is our property, not the school district's.
Thank you, Ms. Winger. Joe Walchuk, thank you. How are you?
My name is Joe Walchuk, 2121 South Youngfield Street, and I too am here to talk about 2090 South Wright Street. 2090 South Wright Street belongs to the people of Lakewood. The judge will shortly rule on this fact due to our diligence and willingness to sacrifice countless hours of time and our hard-earned money to hold our government accountable to its people. Now we must turn to your actions and the actions of city staff. It is quite troubling that we continue to stand alone in our efforts while none of you has lifted a hand to support us, your constituents, in any way. Has the council read all the proceedings? Do you know that the city owns the property? We've read all the documents, and we do know that Lakewood owns the property. Do you know that the city attorneys are fighting to prove that the city doesn't own the land and that representation comes at a high cost to do what? Give something away that belongs to the citizens? Do you know what the legal expenses are to date? Do you know how much more the city will spend on our tax dollars to see this through trial? Do you know that you could simply tell the district you want the property and they will stop the suit? They are ready to drop the suit, but based upon what we have heard from the district and saw by our attorneys Friday, the city is dictating how the school district proceeds. You, the members of the city council, have some homework to do. You have an obligation to ask questions. Why was so much information omitted, which ultimately made fully informed decision by the council impossible? Ask yourself, reading everything that has been submitted to the court, why the city continues to claim it does not own this land. Why does the city continue wasting taxpayer money on an effort that brings no benefit to its citizens? We ask, who authorized City Attorney Tim Cox to enter into this legal dispute? There should have been a vote to go to court. When and where did that vote take place? Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Beck.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Tonight, just a week after we all celebrated the Constitution in the words of our founding fathers, we talk about leadership in leaders. We say you could all be good leaders tonight and question the city staff right now as to why they were not presented with the evidence that would most certainly or should have changed your mind as to whether this property belongs to the city.
This property belongs to the citizens, and you should do the right thing. In light of this new knowledge, and direct Mr. Cox to settle with the school district and with the citizen interveners. In fact, an exceptional leader, which we hope we have in the city of Lakewood, would apologize to the citizens who have done all the work of the staff and thank them for working so hard and sacrificing so much to see a valuable land asset remain in the city. For me, leaders base their action on values. Values such as character, courage, and conviction. Who among you are truly leaders of Lakewood City government, representatives of the citizens, and which of you will act with the courage of your convictions? That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Beck. Anyone else? No one else has indicated a desire to speak by signing up on the public comment roster. Therefore, public comment is closed. To the folks on Pacific Circle and thereabouts, we'll certainly take a look at that traffic situation and everything else that's going on there. The folks at 2090, look, we've been having this conversation for a long time. As one of you said, this is about to be decided in a court of law, which is what you've requested from the beginning. And, now there's all kinds of vague accusations. And as one of you said, one of our employees did go through a deposition last week. And as you know, nothing inappropriate occurred. So, to continue to go down this path and drag one of our employees through the mud, I think is unconscionable. So we all hope for the end of this process, and as you said, the court of law will decide relatively soon. With that, will the clerk please read the items on the consent agenda into the record?
The consent agenda consists of items 5 through 7. Item 5, Ordinance O-2013-22, adding a new Chapter 54 to Title II of the Lakewood Municipal Code concerning campaign and political finance in municipal elections. Item 6, accepting minutes of the boards and commissions, the Lakewood Planning Commission meeting of August 21st, 2013. Item 7, approving minutes of the City Council meeting, the regular City Council meeting of September 9th, 2013.
Thank you. I'm ready for let's see if we've got anybody that's signed up on public comment.
So
we shouldn't. We just have an ordinance. So I'm ready for a motion on the consent agenda.
Mayor Murphy, I move for approval of the council minutes for acceptance of the minutes of boards and commissions. Order all ordinances introduced on first reading to be published in the Denver Post, with public hearings set for the date included in the ordinance, and for adoption of resolutions, all of which are included in the consent agenda items introduced into the record by the city clerk.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Absent that, please cast your votes on the consent agenda. And it passes unanimously. All right, on to the featured attraction tonight for this special meeting of the Lakewood City Council, and that's the second public hearing on the revised 2013 and proposed 2014 budget. It's an item that, as I say, it's a second public hearing. In addition to that, we had a very lengthy study session back in August, and we'll have because of that, we'll have a little bit of an abbreviated presentation tonight by Mr. Dorr, but nevertheless, a thorough one. So, Mr. Dorr, you are on.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. Once again, my name is Larry Dorr, City of Lakewood Finance Director and City Treasurer. Well, tonight's step in the budget process is the last step, and tonight we'll be adopting the 2014 budget. And as mentioned, I do have a very brief presentation. I just have a little bit of new information for the City Council. The rest of this you've seen before in your study sessions and your workings on the city's budget, but just a couple of updates. And I've just got a few comments for those that may be tuning in or participating here tonight in chambers for just the first time. Our budget comes in two forms. First, we have a full printed version with all kinds of color graphics and charts and so forth that can help folks understand the budget. This is available at City Hall, at the clerk's office, or at the 2 Jefferson County libraries within the city's borders. These can be viewed. Of course, they're available online as well. We won't be printing this in final form due to sustainability practices. We're going to save paper doing that. We have a second version of the budget that is another 150 pages. It's really just specific numbers and details at the next level, and really kind of gives the reader a better understanding of all of the different business units and services provided by the city. As mentioned, the budget process really is an annual process. In fact, just at the conclusion of our meeting tonight and the adoption of the budget, in just 4 weeks, Council's Budget and Audit Committee will be meeting again to hear about quarterly financial statements. As you see here, a number of different events leading up to tonight's adoption. And I should mention the Budget and Audit Committee consists of 3 citizen members, Tim Dennis, John Ludwigson, and Donald Tallman, and of course 3 council members, King, Coop, and Kellen. This group meets every quarter. They've previewed the budget, all the assumptions that go into it. Council's study session on August 19th was recorded in these chambers and is available online at KLTV8 and can be viewed there for a lot more detail on all the inner workings that made up the budget. I want to talk a little bit about municipal finance, and there's an update here for City Council. Since the last meeting on the budget on September 9th, the first public hearing on the budget, the Marketplace Fairness Act has taken a step forward. In May, the United States Senate approved this Marketplace Fairness Act. What it would do is require online retailers to begin collecting sales taxes and remitting those to the cities and states where they don't have a physical presence or place of business. The United States House of Representatives Judicial Committee has released a 7-point framework that it hopes will organize and facilitate the discussion around the Marketplace Fairness Act. And so, while it has been a bit of time since it was passed by the Senate, obviously the House of Representatives is taking this very seriously and moving this forward. So I wanted to update you on that. In talking about the city's activities, first beginning on the income side of the ledger, the general fund or the general activities of the city make up 2/3 of all of the activities, really more than double of all of the other activities combined in various restricted funds. So most of my comments tonight, most of the discussion around the budget is usually related to the general fund. And one layer deeper, most of the discussion on the income side of things centers around sales and use tax. That's really what drives local city governments across the state of Colorado. Those sources of income are unpredictable. They do fluctuate from time to time, and I'm really thinking about our friends in the north, Longmont, Boulder. You can imagine what their budgets look like tonight as they're thinking about retail businesses that have closed, repairs that they're having to make. You can just kind of imagine the impact to incomes. We've had changes in our own tax base in the city of Lakewood. We once had a tax on groceries. That obviously changes things. What we as consumers are spending our money on is changing. We're spending more money on services, which aren't taxed, a little bit less on goods over time. Of course, the City of Lakewood's revenues are limited by the Taxpayers' Bill of Rights, or TABOR, as it's commonly referred to. So in the area of income, there's a lot of focus that needs to go into understanding the city's income, and I can tell you that staff, Budget and Audit Committee, and of course Mayor and Council are looking at this very carefully, and I've got a couple of more details. This is an update. Since the last meeting on the city's budget on September 20th, the 2 branches of government here at the state level, they employ full-time professional economists. They've updated their numbers. The big change was in the Legislative Council's 2014-2015 sales tax forecast. You can see that the economists downtown really are anticipating robust growth in the future. I'll tell you what the city's forecast is, and it's a little bit more conservative than this. But we do track these numbers. They're released every quarter. We will continue to monitor them. We don't employ full-time economists at the city. We utilize a variety of different resources, and of course, our Budget and Audit Committee is very keen on understanding the numbers and setting forth many of our estimates. Here are some of those for the coming year. In some cases, as you'll see in sales tax, we were a little bit conservative in our 2013 budget. That's a good thing. We are revising that up by nearly 1%. In property taxes, we weren't conservative enough. We're going to move those down in this 2013 revised budget. So a little bit of a mix there. Motor vehicle taxes, I can tell you that motor vehicle sales by dollar amount in the city of Lakewood are at an all-time high, an absolute record, and I think that speaks to people replacing vehicles. I think that's a bit of pent-up demand there and so forth that's happening. So we're revising those upward. But on the whole, the revenue budget for 2013 really isn't changing. And you see that here in the middle column at the bottom. And then we have some conservative growth estimates for 2014. But that really lays the foundation. Once the income is understood and forecasted, projected, what can funds be spent on, what's needed, and what are the priorities? Well, we provide services. That's what the city does. We do that with personnel. 3/4 of the spending in the general fund are on personnel, and the other 1/4 is for services and supplies that support the personnel that are out there in the field. So, for example, gasoline for our police squad cars. That's in the services and supplies category. Now, this does not include spending in our capital funds for street overlay or for equipment replacement. We also have some utilities that function as business enterprises. They're not included up here either. But these are the real, if I can say it this way, bread and butter services that the city provides. Parks, police, and plows, as I've heard said in the past. So this is really what's happening here in the general fund. We do have some changes there. We have increasing costs for streetlight power. That's the largest increase in the city's budget. I do have that with an asterisk next to it because we anticipate that to continue on into the indefinite future. We don't anticipate that going down. We do need to replace some light poles, but that's just going to be for 2013. We have some unfinished carryover we need to reappropriate from 2012 activities. And then council made a very strong commitment to its advisory commission for an inclusive community to do some programming around sustainability, and that also is asterisked as that is anticipated to continue into the future. There's some capital spending. I've talked in more detail at the previous meetings about plows and some systems around criminal justice. We're also replacing some of the seating and doing some upgrades to our cultural center around folks who are disabled. And then, of course, we've had a 3-year funding project which has really kicked off in earnest here this summer and fall related to our civic center. Well, all of that rolled together makes up a budget for the city of Lakewood of over $100 million. You've really got to add 3 zeros to these figures to get a feel for what's happening there. Now, we do anticipate using reserves of $1,772,000 for operating activities. Now, we typically can save 1 to 2% on average, and so if we do that, we'll come very close to breaking even there. We do have a reserves transfer for the third leg, the third phase of the Civic Center repairs and replacements. So overall, a net of $3,172,000 in reserves for 2014. What that does to reserves overall for 13 and 14, it will reduce that, but it's a very robust percentage. And yet at the same time, I have to tell you, I was contacted earlier today by my colleague at City of Boulder. He was doing a little bit of information around staffing. We got to talking about reserves. The reserve at the City of Boulder is almost the exact same as the City of Lakewood, and also their operating budget is about the same size. And yet they reported in their local newspaper, the Daily Camera, $49 million in damages to infrastructure in their community. So Earlier, I've talked about recessionary needs for reserves, and that in the most recent recession, the city lost out on about $9 million in income. That's food for thought. Now you see what's kind of happening in Boulder. That also gives rise to what's an appropriate level of reserves, and I think it just continues the discussion in that particular area. One question I often get are the legal requirements. We want to make sure that we check all of these off. The state has some requirements for reserves. We've checked that. City charter has a requirement for revenues and beginning funds to exceed expenditures. We can check that off. Also, the city manager presented the budget on August 19th. We met that second deadline. The last step in the whole process is for the adoption of the budget, which needs to be done by November 1st. So we're thankfully ahead of schedule on that as well. With that, Mr. Mayor, members of City Council, thank you for the 2014 budget process. We do have one more step. I'm available to answer any questions, of course, and the public will have the opportunity to speak during the hearing. But then after Council's meeting is when we will have an opportunity to adopt the Lakewood Reinvestment Authority's budget as a separate step in the process. My colleague, Deputy City Manager Nanette Nealon, will have a short presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dorr. Now that we've had the presentation, I'm going to ask the City Clerk to read item 8 into the record.
Thank you. Item 8, Ordinance 0-2013-21, adopting a revised budget for the year 2013 for the City of Lakewood, Colorado, and further adopting the annual budget for the city for the fiscal year beginning on the first day of January 2014, and ending on December 31st, 2014. Estimating the amount of money necessary to be raised by levying taxes for the year 2013 to defray the costs of municipal government of the City of Lakewood, Colorado, for the fiscal year beginning January 1, 2014 and ending December 31, 2014, and estimating the amount of money to be derived from other revenue sources, setting forth the appropriations for each fund.
Thank you. All right. Let me get back to the board here. So as I mentioned in sort of the introduction, this is something that, as you heard Mr. Dorr say, and you've heard him say before, that the city works on 10 or 11 months a year. You saw the outline of the schedule and how much time we spend on this. And it always seems as though once we get to the night of action here, or proposed action, the second public hearing, it's something that City Council has seen in great detail for a very long time, and there often are not a lot of questions left. So with that sort of introduction, are there any questions from City Council on an item that we have thoroughly studied? Mr. Roybal.
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to see if we can pull the city attorney's budget out of the ordinance for discussion.
Pull the city attorney's budget out of the ordinance for discussion. I think we can have a discussion right now about the city attorney's budget. This is not on the consent agenda, so no, we cannot. So ask your questions.
Okay, sir. First of all, I'd like to find out how much money we have spent in this lawsuit with the 2090. Can someone please let me know about that?
Isn't this budget for 2014? And so I think that question is not pertinent to the budget. Larry, am I wrong?
Well, it is a 2014 budget, of course.
Planning for the future, not something that we've incurred to date.
We're revising our 2013 budget as well. I don't notice any substantial changes per se, but I might defer to the city attorney himself if he'd like to have a brief comment or two about this. Perhaps he could provide a range.
What's the budget 2013 versus 2012?
Well, if I could, it's probably more precise to describe the original budget, which was approved a year ago for 13, right, and then the revised. And for the city attorney's office, it actually decreases about $20,000. Keep in mind that in 2012, his office would have had perhaps some personnel vacancies. It might have had some savings in certain areas and so forth. But I can tell you the revised budget for the city attorney's office, just taking a look at that here, did decrease, Mr. Cox.
Yeah, just as you said, about $20,000. There are no substantive changes from the 2013 to the revised 2013 or 2014 budget, just the standard increases.
Mr. Roybal, the budget's gone down. Next.
Okay. Mayor, I'd like to know who authorized for city to engage in the lawsuit. What?
This is a budget hearing, Mr. Roybal.
It's not a 2090 hearing.
We're not hearing a land use case. This is a budget hearing.
City Attorney's Office. It's in the budget here. Can someone answer that for me?
Go ahead.
Pete, if I understand your question correctly, you want to know who authorized the city attorney to enter into this litigation regarding 2090. In my opinion, that has nothing to do with a budget that we're looking at that's proposed for next year. So your question doesn't flow with the topic at hand, which is the budget for 2014, not who authorized Tim, our city attorney, to enter into that litigation on 2090. To me, that has nothing to do with it.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Wickman.
Oh, actually, I agree with Councilor Roybal. Those are some very good questions. I have the same question. We've been spending money on this lawsuit, and the question is, how much have we spent on this lawsuit?
Mr. Mayor, I can tell you we have not been asked that question and have not done the calculations of total expenses. We did have an open records request asking for similar information about money spent in various areas on that lawsuit. Had I been alerted that this was going to be a question raised tonight, I would have brought that information with us, but it was not a total calculation of all expenses. As far as authorization, I would simply remind the City Council we were sued. We were defendant in the lawsuit. We responded to the lawsuit.
Thank you. Thank you, Tim.
And that's what we do. And Mr. Wickman, I would just add that it's the interveners who are bringing this cost to the city.
All right. I'm a big believer that we don't want government waste. We don't want to be wasting our money. And the idea that we are spending taxpayers' dollars to be in litigation with our own citizens for the purpose of giving away our own land, it's just unconscionable. I just can't understand why we're doing this. And I'm not sure about the procedures tonight. I know it's a budget hearing, et cetera, but I wonder, can we do some sort of motion where we stop all further funding on these lawsuits?
Point of order. There's a motion on the floor to deal with the budget.
The budget is what we have at hand. We are not talking about the 2090 litigation tonight. We are talking about a proposed budget and the approval of that proposed budget or not approval of the proposed budget. When somebody is sued, Councilor Wickman, typically they have a defense attorney that comes in and files an answer on behalf of them because they've been sued. Whether the case is legitimate or frivolous is not something that's up for that particular defendant to decide. It's up for a court to decide. But you go out and you find an attorney to represent you and defend you. We've got a couple of attorneys on our board that appear to have lit up their...
Councilor Quinn and then Councilor Wilson.
Councilor Wickman, I'm an attorney myself, and I can tell you that if our city attorneys failed to defend the lawsuit, they would be in violation of the rules of professional conduct for attorneys. They have no choice. Your issue does not belong at this budget hearing.
Diana?
I just want to say, Pete, I know you're relatively new to council, but Dave, you've been on for 4 years. I'm pretty sure you've been to quite a few budget meetings. So you know, as far as the budget, the way it works is we have a budget for the entire city attorney's office. It's a contract, and they just told you that there's no significant difference from last year to this year, actual to budgeted. So obviously no expense has been spent on this issue above and beyond normal operations for the city. However, you yourself have just stated something that I find utterly ridiculous, which is why are we fighting our own citizens for land that is ours? To put it quite blunt, I don't agree with their position. I don't think it was our land. I believe it was the school district's land, and that's why we are where we are right now, because it's not our land. And just because we have a group of citizens that like to pretend like it is doesn't make it a fact.
Councilor Paul?
Just a quick follow-up, just to remind Councilor Wickman and Roybal, you did both approve the city attorney's contract which was before us, I think, a year or two ago, that stated all of the above. And I think you should be familiar with that, considering you both were here for that vote.
Councilor Wickman.
Yeah, I think it's the council's responsibility to decide what sort of lawsuits we want to get involved in. And I don't want to be suing our own citizens or in litigation with our own citizens over giving away our land to someone else. So I don't know how we want to do this, but somehow I want to stop this money being spent.
Karen? Councilor Kellen.
Yes, I was reticent to respond because this is off topic, but when the commenters came to the podium today, they raised a lot of stuff that, I'm sitting here listening saying, wow, this sounds like something new. This sounds like there's a smoking gun out there. So while Larry was giving this presentation, sorry, Larry, I've heard it before, I went to their website to see what this smoking gun was because it sounded like there was really something going on. There is nothing on the website. I cannot find a smoking gun. There's the same documents we've seen over and over. There is nothing naming Lakewood as the owner of this property. Where's the gun? Where's the smoking gun here? I didn't see it, and I just looked for it because they made it sound like there's something going on here that's underhanded and deceitful. And I think people shouldn't be making those kinds of accusations against the employees of this city if they have nothing to stand on. I'm sorry you want it as your park. I'm sorry that's what you thought it was, but that's not what it is, and that's not what the law says, and it's in court now, and let the court decide, and we'll abide by the court's decision.
Councilor Quinn?
I think this discussion should move back to the 2014 budget.
Well, yeah, and that's fair. I'll just close with, we had, I would just remind council that we represent over 142,000 people in the city of Lakewood. 7 of those people came to the podium tonight. And it's our responsibility, and indeed our city attorney's responsibility, to represent all 142,000 plus citizens. In this case, we were sued, and we're responding to the lawsuit. So, another council meeting, another election year parlor trick by Councilor Wickman, but it just doesn't hold water. Sorry. All right. Back to the budget. We have. Do we have a motion?
I made a motion.
We have a motion and a second.
Oh, I did not. Sorry.
Let's make a motion.
I move for the adoption of ordinance O 2013-21 on second and final reading. Here we go.
Second. And so, any discussion on the budget? And
you mean any rational discussion on the budget?
So I would just remind everyone that this vote is on the entire budget document. Oh, come on down. Wait, no, nobody's indicated desire to speak. Edie, if you want to talk, come on down. I'll open up for public comment. I apologize. I know you got here a little late, but there was nobody indicated a desire to speak.
Good evening. I'm Edie Bryan. As most of you know, I was on City Council 20 years ago. And at that time, actually it was a little bit before we even had a city charter. But when the city charter was adopted, there was considerable discussion about the role of the city attorney. And the provision that it came out, that is in there, is that the city attorney serves under the city council. And therefore, I don't know whether you've done this, and maybe you have, and I'm just not aware of it, but you should have had a specific vote on the action of the city in response to the 2090 issue. And you should do that on every major thing. Now, I'm not talking about some minor accident or something of a police car or something, but on major cases, you should have a council vote. And if I'm don't know that you had such a vote, then I'm happy to look at that. But I want you to know that the city council has jurisdiction over the city attorney, not staff or the city manager or anyone else. And so the correct procedure is for you to have a separate vote on any matter that the city attorney is handling. And like I say, some minor routine things, you could have a general principle and adopt that and say that the city attorney can handle that. But the city attorney does not answer to the city manager or other chain of the chain of command for other issues in the budget. The city attorney answers only to city council. Can I answer any questions?
This is a public comment, ma'am.
Oh, okay.
Public debate.
That's fine.
And
I would like to say some nice things about. I attended the budget hearing last year, and there was discussion about doing the concrete work out here in the pedestrian area right outside the door here, which frankly was a mess, and it's under construction right now. And I want to thank you for doing that. I think it was not the kind of front door appearance that we wanted to present to the citizens of Lakewood, and I'm glad that is underway, and I thank you. What's in the budget does reflect the values of our community, and I'm really pleased to see that underway.
Thank you.
And that was a kind of a special edition last year. I don't think it was in the original proposal, but council, again, seized the leadership and said, we want this done. And I cite that as an example. I also support the business about taxing retail purchases and the city being able to levy the sales tax. We were working on that over 20 years ago, and now finally a little bit of action is occurring on that. Time is very slow on some of these issues, but any business that does make sales should be contributing to the budget.
Thank you. Thanks, Edie. All right. Oh, we have another person that wants to comment. Come on down. Sir, this is the public hearing for the 2013-2014 budget. If you have something to say about the budget, come on down. Otherwise, your time has passed.
Thank you for having me here. Pleasure to be here. It's not easy. My name is Bert Ornelas. I live at 14138 West Harvard Place. And there have been several meetings that I have attended. And I've been rather extremely disappointed at the conduct of the city council whenever there are opposing views to the leadership. Extremely disappointed at the arrogance of some council members, as if they know everything that the citizens of Lakewood expect from their city council.
And your comment about the budget is?
I wanted the budget, okay. I wanted to know what kind of budget has been committed to in the installation or construction of bicycle paths on Bear Creek Road from Green Mountain High School all the way down to Morrison Road. It is a safety hazard, and it is detrimental to the safety of the bicyclists and to the financial well-being of the motorists. I think it's a critical issue that the city needs to undertake at its earliest possible moment.
Okay, thank you. We'll get back to you on that. Thanks. Anyone else? All right, with that, we'll close the public comment portion of this. We have a motion and a second. Councillor Paul.
Yes, I just want to comment real quick on Mr. Ornelas' statement. We have talked about this in the past. Actually, I think we were going to do a town hall that you were going to come and do for us, but I don't think you could make it that day on bicycle safety. And the gist of it is there are dedicated bike paths on Bear Creek Boulevard, and what we would like to see is projects like this get together with the rest of council and start to decide and prioritize in each ward. It's not only on Bear Creek Boulevard, but there's a lot of other areas where they may need designated bike lanes, sidewalks, things like that. So I'm assuming that our council president is going to take that on here sometime, or the mayor's going to direct somebody to get that ball rolling.
Yeah, once we get through with this budget process,
along those lines.
Yeah. And thank you for bringing that up again. We talked about that a couple of meetings ago, but there are certainly a lot of needs all around the city, large capital needs, and the process going forward is going to be for council to submit those needs to the council president. Obviously, they'll be vetted through staff in terms of cost estimates and that sort of thing, and then that'll be a way to begin to prioritize those. There are many throughout the city, as we've often said. Sidewalk needs alone are north of $60 million, and as we just saw from Mr. Dorr, our fund balance right now will be about $27 million. So it kind of puts things in perspective. Councillor Quinn and Councillor Coop.
Thanks. Just briefly, I agree with Councillor Paul on this point. Bike paths and sidewalks are a major need in the city. There's no question. I was just at the last Wednesday night with Councillor Coop at the 20-minute neighborhood meeting by the Sheridan light rail station, and that's one of those areas of the city where, to have the proper connectivity with light rail, we need to have better infrastructure in that area for cyclists and pedestrians. Just one example. There are many others. So we'll look forward to more on that in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Coop, Councillor Paul, and I think that's it.
Before we vote on this new budget, I want to take the time, and from what I've seen, I want to thank the city administration, starting with city manager Kathy Hodson, all the department heads, on what I've seen as a careful, considerate, conservative approach to the budgeting in Lakewood and taking care of the citizens' money. And not everybody's going to agree on everything, but I agree. I think you all have done a fabulous job in being conservative with their money and how this is put together. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Paul?
Yep, thank you. I just wanted to say that I support this budget, and I think what was anticipated to be a celebratory night, thanks to the staff and your hard work, kind of got a little blindsided by some ridiculousness that is commonplace in Washington, D.C., but not in the city of Lakewood. So, the staff has worked very, very hard, and the citizens have embodied in us the leadership to come in and make sure that we have a balanced budget and that we do the right things, and we have. And to Kathy and her staff, year after year since I've been on council, you've come below your budget, and we've added to that fund balance. And I can remember before I was on council, the discussions and the problems that happened, and we had a really good run as far as being able to add to those reserves, not supplement or change any kind of services for the public, and really be a top-notch service organization, which I'm proud of, which the citizens should be proud of, and which all the employees who are in here tonight should be proud of the services that you provide. So I do believe it's a joyous celebration for us to get through with this, and I apologize that it kind of got sidetracked.
Thank you. Well said. Councillor Barroway.
I'm just looking forward to next year when Larry can once again give us, even though he says he doesn't have a crystal ball, he comes pretty doggone close to that crystal ball. Looking forward to that, Larry. Thank you.
And again, I'll repeat what I said after the first public budget hearing, but and you heard Adam talk a lot about this too, but we've had, through the unbelievable hard work and high-level professional competence of our staff, we've been able to add money to our fund balance 8 years in a row through the most difficult recession that any of us up here have lived through. And to do that with no layoffs, no furloughs, to give the appropriate market level raises to our staff in the process, and by the way, lower taxes too, is just a remarkable performance. And now that we're making the policy decision to spend a little bit out of that fund balance, that's what the money is for, to judiciously use it, and we've got the 2 special projects that we're using it on. So thank you once again for your unbelievable hard work, as I said earlier. All right, we have a motion and a second on the budget. Please cast your votes. And the budget passes unanimously. Before we conclude, and the gentleman is beginning to put on his jacket in the back row, and I'm not going to let him leave the room, before, and I'm not going to call him down to the microphone either. He's slinking down in his seat because he doesn't like recognition. But Ken Milano has been our Director of Employee Relations for 13 years, and the job that Ken has done has been exemplary, to say the least. We are all reading about the cost of health care and insurance and what that's doing to organizations, public and private, throughout this country right now. And Ken has been our sort of in the trenches negotiator for year after year after year on this. And that's just one of his many accomplishments. I mean, look at this workforce we have here. Look at this employee group we have. And I just mentioned our ability to give market level raises to a very deserving staff through this time. I mean, I could go on and on. I won't. I just want to say thank you, Ken, and enjoy your retirement. You almost got out of here. I bet you wish you did. Thank you. General business, I do want to say before I turn it to Michelle that our city clerk, Margie Greer's father, passed away. We know what a great man he was, and of course how much he meant to Margie, and we wish Margie and her family the best in their time of grief. Anything, Michelle?
No report.
All right. On to the executive report. That's actually was general business, by the way, not reports. On to the executive report.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. First, I want to thank all of the department heads for all the work they did on the budget. And I want to publicly also mention that we will miss Employee Relations Director Ken Milano dearly, and we wish him well.
He's already gone.
He is, of course he is. And he ran out of here. I have been asked a few times from a few of you if we have offered any support to the other communities who are struggling with the flood devastation. And so, we've supported Jefferson County with a loader and an operator, and we've offered to help however we can. We're also helping our friends in Boulder with a couple of street sweepers and also some structural evaluation for the damaged buildings. So we're doing what we can, like all the other communities are, just to help our neighbors in the state. Some good news, some wonderful news, actually. Our communication division have recently been awarded several really prestigious awards, and I'd like to take a moment to mention them. The first one is the City County Communications and Marketing Association gave or awarded our communication staff what's called a Silver Circle, which means second place. And this is as relates to our printed publications. Let me tell you what the judges' comments were regarding our publications, looking at Lakewood. This beautiful publication with stunning photography on newsprint is a joy to read. Lakewood, Colorado doesn't just use its newsletter to tell residents what is happening with their local government. Rather, they use its publication to engage the public in their community. There are photo contests, comment cards, information on businesses who have moved to the community, and much more. Each issue was an adventure to read, an adventure. This is a fantastic example of telling the city's story and engaging residents with print. Great job to the staff. And we also, the same group, if you can believe this, they also won several awards from the national. So the last one I just read was City and County Communications and Marketing. The next one is National Association of Telecommunications Officers and Advisors. The acronym is, I think, NATOA. So here's what the city, KLTV 8, took home 4 first place awards and 3 second place awards and 1 honorable mention. So the honorable mention was awarded for the Government Access Station website, KLTV 8 website. Here are the second place awards. Under the category Children, Young Adults, we won second place with Safe Routes to School, Light Rail Safety. Remember that program? Also, in the category of public education, Metro Voices, Fast Tracks. Also second place in the category public service announcement, Smart 911 PSA. And finally, drum roll, first place, the category instruction training, first place went to community service cleanup out of our Lakewood Courts Division as an orientation for juveniles. And also, let's see, in the category of public safety and PSAs, Crime Stoppers mobile app PSA. And finally, first place went to the category of news series, City Scene News, Lakewood News Shows. Oh. So that's a lot of awards. That's a lot to be proud of by our communications staff. I'd like to appreciate publicly Kit Lammers. What would we do without Kit Lammers, Jonathan Kirsch, Mindy LaCrue, Aaron Rock, Stacey Olton, Al Pennell, and Michael Von Felt. So thanks to all you folks for working so hard. Thanks.
Thank you. Congratulations. That's quite a lineup. All right. On to reports. I don't have anything. Do you have anything?
No report. No report.
All right. Pete?
No report.
Scott?
I do. I want to congratulate the Lakewood High School on their homecoming parade. Thank you to Zoe and the rest of the Senate at Lakewood High School for putting on a wonderful event. And congratulations to the Key Club for winning the Best Decorated Float Contest. Also attended a couple openings of new businesses. We love doing that in Lakewood. The mayor and myself was at the opening of the Firestone right here near the city building on Wadsworth. And it's BizCard Express, just opened up at 20th and Wadsworth in Ward 2. Want to congratulate them, and I'd like to go to some more of those. Anybody think could open up a business out there? Thank you.
Adam?
Just a reminder that we will be back with our town hall on Saturday the 12th, and we'll have our candidates forum at 9:30 a.m. Green Mountain Presbyterian Church.
Ramey?
No report.
I do want to mention a couple, before I go down the road, a couple of events this weekend. Obviously, it's Cider Days. We want to encourage everybody to get out to Belmar Park this weekend on Saturday and Sunday, October 5th and 6th. And then 40 West, the great arts district up on Colfax, is doing their what they call their Riot, their variety show. It's not exactly a variety show this year, but it's their entertainment and fundraiser. So everybody come on out if you can, either Friday or Saturday. They've got a national act out there.
Just been reminded we have Lakewood Innovates tomorrow night at 6:30.
Right. Thank you. All right, Sue. Tom?
Just a quick note, and this was alluded to earlier, but cleanup at Bear Creek Lake Park starts on Wednesday the 2nd from 2 to 6 p.m. They're basing out of the Skunk Hollow Trailhead, which is by the bridge right after you enter the park. I couldn't find very much on the website about that, but Drew had emailed me earlier today. So anyway, there's a lot of work to do. As I understand, the debris on that trail is knee-deep, so need a lot of help. Thank you.
Dave?
I'd like to thank Green Mountain High School for inviting me to participate in their homecoming parade. We did get rained on. Nothing like having a parade rained on, but I did get to drive in a Ferrari. Very cool. Hey, Pete, did you want to mention about the West Metro Veterans Fair tomorrow?
Yes, I did forget. I apologize. Tomorrow we're going to have the Veterans Fair from 9 to 2 at City Hall here. Please, if you're a veteran, please come down.
At the Heritage Center?
Or the Heritage Center. My apologies.
It's at the Lakewood Cultural Center.
Yeah.
All right, so it's at
Anyway, it's tomorrow.
Center tomorrow.
On the Cider Days, again, I invite everybody to come on down. My Rotary Club does the actual pressing, and we're looking for some volunteers. So if you'd like to come down and run the presses Saturday and Sunday, please talk to me or any member of my Rotary Club. Thank you.
Karen?
Yes, I just want to give a early heads up because I know Lakewood has a lot of federal employees, so there's a lot of people who are probably going to be sent home from work tomorrow because government's going to shut down. And so, and as someone who's going to be personally impacted by this, I just want to put a reminder out there that we do have Lakewood Cleanup Days coming on October 12th and 19th. So while you're sitting at home, why don't you clean out your garage or go in the backyard and get rid of some of that junk and take it off in one of these locations and drop it off on the 12th or the 19th. So check out Lakewood's website for the location and the time as to where you are in the city and which day is good for you.
Great idea. Thank you. Michelle, anything?
No report.
Tim?
No, nothing.
Kathy? All right, we will adjourn the special meeting of the Lakewood City Council at 8:23 p.m., and we are going to follow this with an LRA meeting. Would you like a few minutes break? Yeah, we're gonna break for 5 minutes or so, and then we'll convene the meeting of the Lakewood Reinvestment Authority. I now call to order the September 30th, 2013 meeting of the Lakewood Reinvestment Authority. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Murphy?
Here.
Kellen?
Here.
Wickman? Quinn? King?
Here.
Wilson? Barroway?
Here.
Johnson?
Here.
Paul? Coop?
Here.
Roybal?
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. I'll just quickly remind viewers that the City Council, by vote of the people back in the late 90s, also serves as the Reinvestment Authority. We just wear a different hat and have some slightly different titles. So we have a couple of items. First, Nanette, I need to open it up for public comment. No one's indicated a desire to speak by signing up on the public comment roster.
Come on.
No. So there's actually... So there is no public comment. So I'm going to have the clerk read into the record item 4.
Item 4, Resolution LRA 2013-1, authorizing a revised budget for the year 2013 for the Lakewood Reinvestment Authority and further adopting the annual budget for the Lakewood Reinvestment Authority for the fiscal year beginning on the first day of January 2014 and ending on December 31, 2014, estimating the amount of money to be derived from tax increment financing and setting forth the appropriations for each fund.
And we will turn to our Deputy City Manager, Nanette Nealon. You're on.
Good evening, Chair and board members. I'm just going to quickly summarize some of the facts that we presented at our August 19th study session. And before you will be 3 resolutions, one for the budget, one for amending some of the bylaws, and one for the public place for polling that we're required to do.
Nanette, you said polling, you mean posting?
Posting, I'm sorry, I did say polling, I'm sorry. Thank you, Cindy. The LRA is different than the city budget, where they primarily generate their revenues from property tax. And as everyone is aware of, our assessments have gone down. But our property tax increment makes up 77% of the budget. The budget over the past years have ranged from $8.9 million to $9.2 million, to give you a sense. With that, our expenditures are primarily for the redevelopment cost reimbursements that we make to each of the 4 areas, the West Colfax, the West Alameda, the Colfax, Wadsworth, and the Belmar areas. The other services and supplies and personnel make up of 1.13 FTEs are in the personnel budget. We also fund the Alameda and the West Colfax business improvement districts and pay for our legal and consultant fees and the principal and interest payment for our betterment loans that were related to the light rail. In the 2012, we had a $9.2 million budget. We had less revenues come in than anticipated. However, we spent less money due to the station betterment costs being allocated more in the 2013 budget. So our fund balance ended up, in round numbers, about $1.8 million. In our 2013 budget, that is also comprised in the Lakewood Reinvestment Report that you have, we have a $9.2 million budget that we revised that had expenditures going up approximately $300,000, but the revenues have lowered 1.4, so we're dipping into our fund balance a little bit more. The reason our expenditures went up is because of some of the station betterment payments happened in 2013 as opposed to 2012. As a result, the 2014 budget has been, because several of our payments on the betterment program have been done, we have estimated it's going to be an $8.9 million budget that is being put forth to the board tonight. What we result is in a funding balance of about $459,000, which is 5.2% of the $8.9 million budget. With that, in addition, we're having additional actions that the board is being asked, besides the budget, is to amend the bylaws. The bylaws that are the amendments are happening to change your annual election for a vice chairman to an automatic appointment of the mayor pro tem from city council. In addition, it's appointing me as the deputy city manager as to be the director of the LRA, and that's the day-to-day operations. Our city manager is still the executive director. Changing the requirement of having an annual meeting be any time during the course of a year, one annual meeting, as opposed to being specific to a certain month. And lastly, changing reference to our meeting location and putting it as the Lakewood Civic Center. Those were administrative things that we needed to get caught up on that we provided in the LRA bylaws. And last, we're designating the public place for posting notices of public meetings, and it's pursuant to the Colorado Revised Statutes. This designation will be for 2014 and 2015, and the location is the Lakewood Civic Center. With that concludes the presentation and allows you to present your votes. So, thank you.
Thank you. I'll tell you what. Let's read item 5 into the record too, and that way we can discuss both at the same time.
Item 5, Resolution LRA 2013-2, amending the bylaws of the Lakewood Reinvestment Authority.
Mr. Chairman, it is also, you could go ahead and read item number 6. It's presented as a consent agenda. I beg your pardon, and 7, yes.
Item 6, Resolution LRA 2013-3, designating the public place for posting notices of public meetings of the Lakewood Reinvestment Authority during 2014 and 2015 pursuant to CRS 24-6-402. And item 7, approval of minutes of Lakewood Reinvestment Authority, the Lakewood Reinvestment Authority Board meeting of October 8th, 2012.
Thank you, and thank you, Larry. This is all on the consent agenda, so we will be actually voting on all of the items at once as part of the consent agenda. You know, I was let's have a motion for the consent agenda, and then we can have discussion.
So bear with me because they didn't give me the motion for the Lakewood Reinvestment Authority, so I'm going to do my best. Chairman Murphy, would be correct?
Yes.
I move for approval of the minutes, for acceptance of the minutes of the Lakewood Reinvestment Authority. No ordinances. And for adoption of resolutions, all of which are included in the consent agenda items introduced into the record by the city clerk.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any public comment? I say with a smile because nobody's here. All right, we'll close the public comment portion on the consent agenda. And ready for questions or comments from the Reinvestment Authority Board. I will just add, I was sort of looking through my phone here at an email we got today, actually from Larry Dorr, and talking about, you know, the reinvestment in the city of Lakewood is what we call urban renewal. And one of the first projects we did was the Creekside Shopping Center at the intersection of Colfax and Wadsworth. And of course, Walmart is the main presence there, but there are other ones too. And, you know, Larry, you can help me with some of these figures, but sometimes this process is criticized, but we need to think about both the long-term as well as the far-reaching effects of positive impacts from projects like this. In the last 12 months, the Creekside project created state sales tax revenues of approximately $1.1 million. Mm-hmm. State sales tax revenues over $1 million. Prior to the redevelopment, it was producing only $100,000, so an extra $1 million in state revenue there. Mm-hmm. 200 to 300 workers have jobs on site. They're all paying income taxes, Medicare tax, unemployment premiums, etc. The reconstruction of the project cost $25 million, half of which was spent on labor and the other half on taxable construction materials, again, revenue to the state. So the positive impacts are far-reaching on projects like this. And we haven't even started talking about Belmar, obviously the crown jewel of our reinvestment project. So that's my editorial. And any other comment on our LRA budget? All right. With that, we have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes. And it passes unanimously. Do we have any general business? No? Councilor Johnson, did you?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I actually should have said this during City Council, but it's a little late, but it's still appropriate. Kathy, I would just like to commend you on Jay Hutchinson as one of our employees. He has met with me twice with some of our citizens. He is a diplomatic ambassador, and he makes our city look good. He helps me to understand some of the issues that are going on in this ward. And Jay, I just want to publicly thank you.
Oh, nice. Well, thank you. All right. With no other comment, we are adjourned at 8:43 p.m.